You're listening to the Behind the Tee podcast, hosted by your favorite club curlers, Rob and Kelly. The show where we share our thoughts on what's happening in the curling world with the internet. But let's be real, we end up talking about football half the time anyways. Welcome to the Behind the Tee podcast with Rob and Kelly. So Rob, have you watched the football playoffs this weekend?
No, well, I've been out and about living my life, doing exciting things. Hey, even though curfew is over, it's still been like minus 20 all week. So it was a good weekend to stay in and watch football. So yes, I did. Very interesting results, I have to say, so far, except that I am 0 for 2.
You'll be proud of me. I actually watched last night's game of San Francisco versus Green Bay. Now, I was reading at the same time. I wasn't like actively watching, but I did watch the exciting finale of that game.
You saw the punt block.
Oh, yes. I didn't even realize what happened. And I was like, what? Because it happened right at the end of the game.
I know. And it was a close game at that point. And I agree with you. I was not actively watching, but by the end, I kind of was. So when that happened, here I am alone in my apartment, but I jumped out. Whoa. I jumped out of my seat.
Well, score-wise, it was a close game, but it really wasn't. San Francisco couldn't catch a ball. They just couldn't.
Yeah, it was a really weird game. And the funny thing is, if you're listening to this, you probably have already forgotten about this game by the time this comes out. But the first drive of the game, Aaron Rodgers made it look easy. They scored a touchdown right away, and I was going, okay, well, this game's going to end 49-0 or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was the only touchdown they scored. It was really weird.
Yeah, and even San Francisco, they didn't score a touchdown the whole game. Well, except for that.
Until the punt block. But
yeah, but that was special teams, not because of Jimmy.
No, he got them close a few times, but man, he threw some bad passes by the time they got down to the end zone.
Basically, the 49ers won without an offensive team.
I know, it was I've not really seen a game like that in a long time. And I have to say, I was kind of happy.
Yeah. So I had picked Green Bay as well for that game. But just because of the whole, I don't know, Aaron Rodgers just rubbed me the wrong way this year. So I was kind of rooting for Jimmy. Yeah. So I was upset that I lost in my pick. But then I was also kind of happy to see San Francisco win.
I know. And the funny thing is, because you're normally a Packers fan, right?
Yeah. But this year, I don't know. They're just, I wasn't vibing the team.
I know. And the funny thing is that I'm kind of indifferent to the Packers, but I feel the exact same way as you. I find that, we mentioned it last week. I did not take kindly to Aaron Rodgers lying about his vaccine status, but it's not only that. He's been acting very weird all year. And that video you sent me last week summed it up perfectly.
Wasn't that hilarious?
Yes, there was some NFL panelist who basically just went on a rant going, stop playing the victim. No one feels any sympathy for you, and don't get your advice from podcasters. And I was like, well, actually, that's not true. You can take advice from us.
Well, he was referring to, what's his name? Joe Rogan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it was so funny when he goes on this whole rant. He's like, look, no one cares that you didn't get vaccinated. Just be honest with it, all the other players. And he's like, even if, let's say you are right, the other greats of the time. And then he made reference to Copernicus.
Oh, yes.
You see, everyone thought he was crazy, but look, he was right, so just own it. And I think if you'd own it, I'd have a little more respect for him. But also, too, just other stuff that happened this year, just, I don't know what he's smoking, but it's, I don't know, it's not the same Aaron Rodgers. And also, one thing I didn't notice, too, because, he's been referred to as the GOAT, after Tom Brady, of course. He's a great quarterback. He's going to go down.
Oh, yeah. He's a Hall of Famer, for sure.
He's only won
one Super Bowl. And he's only made it to one either.
Yeah. Isn't that surprising?
He's got this tradition of being so incredible during the regular season, and basically last night summed up his whole career of an MVP caliber season and then nothing in the playoffs. And the funny thing, by the way, is his Super Bowl came 12 years ago or something like that. Yeah, early in his career. And you would think oh man, he's going to win several. And here we are. His career might even be over. We don't know.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. He'll play the victim some way or another.
I have to say, though, I didn't know how to handle this last night because I was watching and I so wanted to send snarky messages to you.
I was sending snarky messages to my other friend.
I know, but the problem was I was like, I bet Kelly's cheering for Aaron Rodgers, or if not Aaron Rodgers, but I bet Kelly's cheering for the Packers, and here I am celebrating that they just blew it.
I was celebrating as well.
Okay, good. Oh, well, if only I'd known. I'll be sending you a bunch of snarky comments about Tom Brady later. We're recording this earlier than we normally do because there's not much going on these days, so schedule your podcasting around football.
Yeah, I'll watch that game tonight. But I also saw a message on Reddit that was kind of funny. The Packers, I guess, this goes into why Aaron Rodgers hasn't been to the Super Bowl in a long time, but in the past 10 years, they've had this record of losing the NFC Championship in Lambeau Field.
Yeah.
They've done it multiple times. They've lost their 0-4 against the 49ers in playoff season, so not a great record. But this game was before the NFC Championship. So someone wrote a message saying, like, the curse continues because apparently this year they added an extra week to the season.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, so technically, if this were last year, that game today's date would have been the NFC Championship. So like it has nothing to do with the championship. It's all a lunar thing. They just, for some reason, maybe I think Mercury's in retrograde too this time of year. Like it just doesn't do well with the Packers. So it made me laugh a little bit.
Did that guy get that from Joe Rogan's podcast as well?
Yeah, exactly. But I am 1-2 this weekend, though, because I did pick the Bengals. And my friend told me, he was like, no, you have to pick the Titans. They're, like, favorite to win. And I was like, no, all of my picks would be on the right-hand side, and I just can't comfortably have, like, 4 home teams.
I know. I did the same thing. And it was like, they're all the home teams, and so far 0-2. But, yeah, Cincinnati.
I went for the Bengals just because I just needed a non-home team pick, and I was correct. So
okay, yeah, I mean, I'm happy for Cincinnati. They haven't won a playoff game. Their win last week was their first playoff game in, I think, our lifetime. So like a long time. So good for them.
I always like too when they end those games because it ended on a field goal, right?
Yeah.
And I know I just kind of like those endings because like field goal is made and then they know they won and everyone just storms on the field and they take the kicker and they're like, woo. So it's a little more of an exciting finish compared to just like the clock runs out. And
oh, I know. It reminds me of like curling. It's like making your last shot for the win.
It all depends on that kicker. If he misses the shot, I think they would have lost.
I think they were tied. Yeah, they were tied. So they would have gone to overtime.
Oh, okay.
Same with the Niners, like both field goals for wins on the last play. But can you imagine like the nerves that a kicker must have to deal with?
And you're kicking from the like 50th yard line.
I know. And I'm thinking like, I guess we know about this. We've had to throw game-winning curling shots in our lives. But most of the games we've played in are in front of like what? Us plus that one guy drinking a beer behind the glass. Like think about, you've got millions and millions of people in these like small cities of San Francisco and millions of people watching on TV.
I've went up on you. At least I've thrown shots to like win a provincial championship, which is very, very stressful.
Right, but you weren't skipping.
No,
but I'm thinking like a shot for the win, where if you don't make it, you lose. Like we've all been through that, but in a high stakes game, like because I've played in some high stakes games too, where I'm like, I'm glad I'm not skipping here. You throw your second or third's rock and you're okay. It's not my problem anymore.
Well, I've been like been in the house for the last rock for the provincial championships, and it is also stressful. But like, yeah, I get it. I guess you can kind of compare it to having to make a draw to touch the button or something.
Yeah,
if you compare that to like winning, like making a field goal to win the game, it's like an easy shot, but it's also a lot harder when you add all that pressure.
Ooh, look at you, a draw to the button. Just easy shot.
Well, no, we've all done draws to the button.
But with the pressure on, like...
exactly, it's just that much harder.
That's it. And even at like the pro level, like a draw just to the 8-foot to win, which these elite curlers make look so easy, is never easy when there's something major riding on it. The funny thing that, I can't really relate to having to do too many high stakes shots, certainly not as a skip. But the one I did was like about a week before everything shut down back in 2020. Not with you, but with my other league night game. How could this be high pressure? But we got an 8-ender, and my shot for 8. I have never been so nervous in my whole life. I could not feel my legs; they were trembling. I was so nervous.
Yeah, well, you don't play skip very often, so because like I find there's people who can skip and those who can't, and like being able to throw that shot under pressure is like kind of a hallmark of.
Oh, I know, and I do a little bit. Like I've gotten into skipping a little bit more, and I think I've gotten okay at it because like I never skip with you there, but I do pretty much every other night. So I've gotten way more comfortable with it over the years, and I'm not that nervous. But that changed everything. I don't know what happened, but I was like, oh my god, I can't miss this. I can't miss this. Everybody's watching. Also, if I missed it, we would have lost the game. Not just the 8-ender, but we were down by 2 and they were shot. It's like if I
down by 2 and ended up taking 8 points.
Yeah, we only needed 3, but we decided to take 8.
Hey, that's what you need. But no, I remember back in my curling days when I was skipping that team, like, because it is a lot of pressure, you know, like you miss your shot and there goes the game, or it could definitely affect the outcome of the game. And that was a thing too we discussed as a team. Like I was skipping, so I was throwing the last rock, but then we had that discussion of like, oh, you know, you feel bad if you miss, yada yada. But then you ask anyone else on the team and no one wanted to throw the last rock, right? So it's, yeah, some people just, they're like, no thank you, I'd like to throw the 4th to last rock.
Exactly. Yeah, like I haven't done it competitively very well. I have a little bit actually, but like I've kind of adopted the last rock the same way based on okay, well we shouldn't say this publicly, but I curl with somebody who we feel should throw the last rock, and we're gonna, if you're listening, you know who you are, and we're gonna one day stage an intervention.
Yeah, we've been working on this for 5 years now. Haven't been successful. That's it. There's some people who are just like made to be skips and like can't.
And he's one of them.
Yeah.
I'm happy, by the way, because in doing this, he's made me a better skip in kind of forcing me to do it. So I've learned the hard way. However, it's time. The time has come.
The time has come. Once the pandemic's over, you know, it'll be a new year, new season. Maybe it's the time to become a skip.
Hey, that's a really good segue, by the way, how we kind of just gradually transitioned from football to curling. I think that's pretty good.
We only talked about football for 15 minutes.
Okay, that's pretty good. I thought we could go on for 45, so...
we probably could too.
But hey, Kelly, the Scotties starts this week.
I know, finally.
Oh, and wait, I have to get this out there. I have to tell everybody how Kelly nearly ruined my whole week.
Yeah, what did I do?
Yeah, so there I was at work on... I don't know, it was Tuesday or Wednesday of this past week. It was one of those extremely busy days where I didn't get home till 9 o'clock at night. I didn't even have time to check my phone and look through whatever was happening in the world. And there I am in the middle of work, and I get a message from you, and it says, the Scotties has been canceled and moved to April.
Okay, wait. Yeah, I sent this in our group chat with...
Yes.
But, okay, in my defense...
Oh, I know. I don't actually blame you, but I was...
I would have had a shock too. Well, I had a shock when I saw that headline, but it was just like Scotties pushed to April, but it was the Ontario. Oh yeah, because it was the Ontario Scotties pushed to April. And in my mind, I was like, oh, well, the Scotties, because the Scotties this year played in Ontario. So I just automatically thought they were pushing them. And at first I was like, okay, I guess that makes sense. But continue your story, sorry.
Well, it's not much of a story, except that like I was so busy that day that I just see that message. I put my phone back in my pocket and I'm just going, oh no, what am I going to do next week? I've been looking forward to this and this is the worst thing. And then I didn't even have time to check my phone the rest of the day, where you quickly corrected it and revealed that actually, no, it's not canceled. It's the Ontario Tournament of Hearts has been rescheduled to April.
The Ontario Playdowns.
Right. And then when I finally looked it up, I was like, I don't blame you for making that mistake. That was incredibly misleading, that headline. And also, why even bother to play it? Like, who wants to play in a provincials where the prize is just the banner and not actually going to a national event? I mean, I know there's a lot of money being offered here, which, don't get me wrong, I would play it. But, like, imagine the teams that win it. They're not going to be, like, jumping around and celebrating. They're just like, oh, good.
I think they just treat it like another cash deal because, the winner will get, I think it was $15,000. It's quite a bit, and that will pay for a season, essentially. So if I were a team playing in Ontario, like, absolutely, we'd still go down and play. But, like you said, I think there's a little less excitement.
Yeah, one of the things I thought about was I was thinking about Rachel Homan's very poor performance at the Olympic trials, and I defended her because even though everyone will point to the fact that she finished in last place, the moment she was out of contention, she was not going to be trying to be fair here to her, but she was not going to be very invested in the rest of the tournament, right? This is a team that's here to win the whole thing. They're not here to just play for pride. So for them to be eliminated and to have like 3 round robin games left, no wonder they didn't play their best curling. So my question is, what if the same thing happens? Like, what if she goes to these arbitrary Ontario provincials, kind of starts poorly, and then just finishes in the last place? Yet she was selected to represent Ontario,
Right.
originally anyway. I don't know. It could be interesting. Like, will she do well in an Ontario provincial that basically means nothing?
Good question. I think if she does finish last, the rumor mill is going to be very active, and a lot of people, I think, would be critiquing the team. I can see that happening. You
Yeah.
can also default that to like, oh, we haven't really been playing a lot because Homan was at the Olympics. I don't know. I'm sure you can come up with a whole bunch of excuses. But it would be if they do end up in last place, or not even last place, but just not in like the playoffs. I wonder if that's going to trigger a change for next year, because they would have at that point would have had just a bad season overall. Would they make a player change? Would they make a coach change? Like, I don't know.
It can, and that day is coming because you know what happens. It's the Olympics are already over, or not. They're not. What am I saying? The Olympic trials are over. We've got the tournament of Hearts and Briar, and then that's when the first domino falls and all the team changes start coming. So I'm kind of looking forward to that.
It's free agent season.
Exactly, it's a free agent frenzy. And by the way, just something I was thinking about. Hey, Brendan Botcher, you better.
Just gonna say too. Yeah, Brendan Botcher still hasn't announced his.
I've heard some. While Kelly does some research here, I have read about some rumors, and of course, by rumors here, I'm going on the forums of Curling Zone. But I've read that some people project it'll be Tyler Tardy,
Okay.
and it's interesting because Tyler Tardy was for sure the number 1 seed in the BC provincials and really did not play well. So, look at this. Like that lends very well to gossip, Kelly. Just like maybe he had other plans. I don't know.
Maybe. I said they haven't even put the teams.
Oh yeah, for the Briar, like we'll have to wait because it's still unclear how some provinces are going to decide. Like here in Quebec, the men's provincials have been postponed, probably going to be canceled in the end, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, but Curling Canada, like they haven't even updated any teams.
Okay, this isn't the nicest thing, but can we take a quick aside to say Curling Canada's websites are just not that good?
Oh, we've said this already before. Just curling websites in general are horrible.
That's true. It's not just a Curling Canada thing, but it's hard to find.
Let's see what Wikipedia says. So Wikipedia, they've already populated the teams that have been selected. So only 3 so far. Plus Yukon, we know the skip is Thomas Scoffin, but we don't know the rest of the team, who the rest of the team will be. Yeah, Brendan Botcher, they still have TBD as at third.
Oh, very interesting. I mean, it's a tough choice because I've already told him that I'm not interested. So
yeah. I have a feeling they're going to go with a younger player, maybe someone who's not fresh out of juniors, but I don't see them going for like an older player.
No, I agree with you. And I think that the other thing, I expected it by now because what I figured was happening was he was waiting for the provincials, not that many men's provincials have happened, but for them to wrap up and to see how they played out. And for instance, in Alberta, I'm just going to throw out a name here like Karsten Sturmey or somebody like that, very young up and coming skip in Alberta, or a Tyler Tardy out in BC. Somebody like that, I'm guessing.
Yeah, actually, you make a good point because actually maybe he is in communication with some people in maybe Manitoba or Sask, like those provinces that haven't picked their team yet. So it's all on like, sure, I'll join. Maybe they already have some like pre-contracts, like, okay, I'll join the team pending that I don't win the provincial spot with my team or something like that.
Right. And that's true. There's still some provincials that have to go ahead. So
like a lot of them.
Right. It's Alberta and BC are done. But will the others even take place? I don't know. So maybe that's why it's still up in the air.
And also there's 3 wildcard spots again for the Briar.
That's right. Same format as the Tournament of Hearts, which we'll get into, I guess. But yes, so you did not ruin my week in the end, but you left me with this horrible, depressing feeling that day until I got home and actually ran through the list of messages and saw that that actually it was the Ontario one, which
Yes.
I'm not as devastated about that being postponed. Although then I did actually, another quick aside before we get to curling. So I read, oh wait, it's not canceled, thank God. But then I read that Major League Baseball has arbitrarily decided that the idea of moving the Tampa Bay Rays to Montreal is now not acceptable anymore, and they just killed the project this week.
Really?
The idea of Montreal getting the baseball or sharing the baseball team with Tampa Bay is now over.
Did they say why?
No, they just there's a lockout going on in baseball right now, so it's probably like some kind of I don't know, deal with the players union. But they just
lockout in terms of like the players are on strike?
The players are on strike, yeah.
Oh, because they don't make enough money?
Exactly.
The sport that has the highest paid athletes out of all professional sports.
That's pretty much the story. Wow. I don't know how accurate, but
I think the ESPN guy should go on a rant for against all those baseball players, because I have a hard time having sympathy for you empathy for you when you make millions of dollars to play baseball.
I know, and one of my goals is to get Kelly more maybe not love baseball, but obviously Kelly is not a baseball fan, and I'm still going to one day convert you, and this is not going to help.
No, well, I'm saying if the Expos came back, I would get more into baseball because it's in our city and we can go watch a game. I'd be open to that. But no, I'm not going to spend my Saturday afternoon watching baseball.
No, and so that was pretty tough to read this week because it's not a done deal that everything is dead, but it's a pretty big nail in the coffin for the project to bring a baseball team back. So all I can say is, Tom Brady, please save us. I know you put out a tweet last year about like, hey everybody, I'm buying the Rays and moving them to Montreal. It was an April Fool's Day joke, which I did not take kindly to because it got my hopes up. He even did a really good job photoshopping like himself into the Olympic Stadium.
Yeah, I remember that tweet. That was amazing.
So come on, Tom, put your money where your mouth is, and please do this. It's up to you now.
If he doesn't win tonight, be like, Tom, action plan B right now. But so did they not give a reason why the deal was canned?
No.
Or they're just like,
baseball decided, no, this is not acceptable.
Wow. Not acceptable is interesting phrasing too.
Yeah, like I'm paraphrasing, but there was not much of a reason given. It was just kind of killed.
Oh, well, that's a shame.
I know. So that ruined my week. Not your news story in the end. But okay, let's improve the mood. Let's get into the Tournament of Hearts because it's starting this week.
On the 28th.
Right. So Friday night, it's going to all get started. If you're listening to this on the day that it comes out, I guess a few draws have already happened. But we're doing this a week before, so we don't know what's going to happen yet. But so there's 18 teams, like we said this year. They originally were going to go back to the traditional format, but due to everything getting canceled again, we're back to 18 teams like we had last year. Do you want to run through the teams, I guess?
Yeah. And I also want to add to this year, so it is going forward, being played in Thunder Bay, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it will be an empty stadium.
It will be until the playoffs. Apparently they're going to allow some fans in for the playoffs, but the round robin will be without fans. I don't really know. It's but you know what? I'm so tired of trying to justify what's right and what's wrong with COVID that I don't know.
The thing is, it's just interesting too, because if this were played in Kingston, Calgary, I'm surprised it didn't move it to Calgary, to be honest. If it was in a more metropolitan center, I can see allowing people to come in for playoffs because people already live there. But Thunder Bay is a very isolated place.
Yeah, it's probably not built to handle a surge.
Yeah, so I don't see a lot of people just flying in for the playoffs. But whatever. I guess if I were in Thunder Bay, I would probably go watch the game too.
Yeah, it would just be, I guess, for the families, like if they can. And again, I'm tired of tired of trying to decide what's right and what's wrong. But I would like to think that having a few masked fans sitting far apart, because let's be honest, Kelly, there's not real fans in curling stands have been social distancing since before the pandemic.
Exactly. I was gonna say, even before the pandemic, it was easy to social distance. I remember I've been to a couple games in the arena, and at first you just go to the seat,
and we walk right down to the front row.
Yeah, and then if there's like a lot of people around, and then there's this whole other open space, like I'm just gonna go sit over there. Like,
yeah, you choose your seat.
The seat on the ticket doesn't mean anything.
No, exactly. I reference it when I walk in, and then that's pretty much it. So that's happening this week. Yeah, let's do the teams.
All right. So we're going to start with Team Canada from the Gimli Curling Club in Manitoba. We have Skip Carrie Einerson with the same team she had last year. So Val Sweeting, Shannon Burchard, Brian Mayer, and Reed Carruthers.
I just saw that.
Coach.
Going for the three-peat.
Yeah, so I hope that they do well. I'd like to see them. Their year so far has been kind of meh.
It probably is for many teams because, like, the whole world is kind of meh, to use your word. But I was surprised at how they were not so strong at the trials.
Yeah, that's it. I say meh, but I only have the trials to go on, really. So
actually, that and last year's Worlds, that was not very good either.
Yeah, so. But then also for the Worlds, like, Einerson had been in the bubble for like 2 months by then.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure that had an effect on things.
Yeah, honestly, like, we'll get to our predictions later, but how can this team not go? This is Shannon Burchard at the Tournament of Hearts. She's batting 1,000 at Tournament of Hearts, so
exactly.
They'll be around.
Like, I can see them at least making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Then we move on to Team Alberta. So we have Lara Walker with her team, Kate Cameron, Taylor McDonald, Nadine Scotland, and Dana Ferguson as the alternate. So I think they will be a strong team.
I think so too. I'm just going by the Alberta provincials. They did very well there. I watched a little bit of that. And they did well at the. Did they? I can't remember.
They did like acceptable.
Okay, yeah. Actually, no, I remember because I predicted them to actually make the top 3, which they did not.
Oh, okay.
So, but they had a very good run at last year's Tournament of Hearts, so they'll be a good team.
Then we got the OG team from British Columbia with Marianne Arsenault, Gina Schrader, Sasha Carter, and Renee Simmons.
No offense to Morgan Muiz, the alternate, but what a blown opportunity not having Kelly Scott.
Kelly Scott, like, her team is there, not you, but I'm sure she has other things going on.
I'm kind of excited to watch that team. I did see them a little bit in the BC provincials, but I gotta say it's interesting to see these legendary BC curlers back.
I don't know how I feel they will perform. I think they'll either like surprise us all and end up in the playoffs, or they'll just like barely make it to the championship round. Yeah,
because they've all got to be past their prime. I mean, with respect, the average age on this team is going to be a little bit up there.
Yeah, I mean, they had a lot of success during their prime.
Oh yeah, like it'd be interesting to add up the number of Tournament of Hearts they've all won combined. It's definitely over 10. Like, I don't know what it is, okay, don't quote me on that. I'll look it up later, but they've got a lot of combined Tournament of Hearts between them.
I remember in the era of Kelly Scott, and Gina Schrader was her third. And at the time, Gina was like probably the best third.
Oh, I think so too. I think she was the top third, probably in the world.
Oh yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, this was back in the mid 2000s, late 2000s.
Yeah, just about. And like, they were the best team in Canada for a good. I'm not going to say very long stretch of time. Maybe like only 3 years ish. Yeah. But. Like Jennifer Jones kind of took that over, but
yeah, Jones came up right after her, but then also some of the players, like, they took time off because, babies. So that definitely like changes the dynamic of the team. Yeah. But no, I remember like when I first started curling and started watching it on TV, like, they were definitely the team to watch.
Do you still think of like that team whenever you hear 9.5?
9.5, Gina. I forgot about that.
They coined that, the throwing 9.5 hog to hog weight. But Kelly Scott would always say it in such a distinctive voice that Kelly just nailed.
It was like 9.5, Gina.
Oh, I know. And whenever something in life comes up where the answer, like where 9.5, which doesn't come up very often, but if like something at the store is $9.50, I just think 9.5. If I'm doing a math problem in school and with these kids that I teach and the answer comes out to 9.5, I'm just thinking 9.5.
I don't know. I wonder if Marianne Arsenault is gonna adopt that phrase during the tournament.
I
That would
doubt it.
be
She doesn't seem like
fantastic.
that kind of person.
No. But here's to hoping, right?
Yes.
So let's move on. So we have
Hmm.
Team Manitoba from the Altona Curling Club. So we've seen this team before. Mackenzie Zacharias, Carly Burgess, Emily Zacharias, Lauren Laurentine, and Lori Olson-Johns.
Lori Olson-Johns is an interesting alternate. She's been around for a while.
Yeah.
Back with the Kathy King team from way
Yeah.
back when.
Because I was like, I recognize this name. But
My favorite thing with her was, remember when Val Sweeting was skipping out of Alberta?
yeah.
And she had a pretty good team. They were up and coming and they were getting to the final of Alberta. And I believe, I might have this wrong, but when Joanne Courtney left them to go play with Rachel Homan, they needed a new third. And they recruited Andrea Crawford from New Brunswick, which was a pretty good import. But then for whatever reason, I don't know, but Andrea had to leave the team right around the time of provincials. So they had no third. And this is not like Botcher. There was no personal reasons here.
Well,
they
maybe
had
there
to find,
was.
or maybe there was, but whatever it was, they didn't fire her. She had to leave and they had no third. And so they randomly recruited Lori Olson-Johns and they won Alberta. They nearly won Canada. They went to the final of the Tournament of Hearts. It was quite a story.
It's funny you mention Val Sweeting when she was skipping her team, because I remember when that team first started having success, people thought like, okay, this is like the next great thing. This is like the next team that's going to be beating Jennifer Jones. And they just never really like they kind of ended before they really were able to do something.
Yeah. What's interesting is all four of them have won national titles, just not together.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And like the front end went on to play with other people. Val Sweeting went on to play with other people. So yeah, that team just kind of like...
It's too bad. They could have been very good. They were good.
And I do remember when Joanne Courtney left to go play with Homan, that was a ooh moment where everyone was like, oh my God.
I know, and I don't like that aspect of team changes. I have to say, like, you know how we were speculating that maybe Tyler Tardy goes to join Team Botcher? That would be unfortunate in my opinion, because this has been a really good up and coming team out of BC. And I don't like the idea that like a skip gets poached and sent to another team. And you know, you've had a team that's like developed for so many years and all of a sudden you lose your skip.
Yeah, but that's part of the game.
It is. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a team sport, and it's all about team spirit, and you really want to like form a good team. But also at the end of the day, it's like every man for himself. Like if you get a good opportunity, like it's your life.
Oh yeah, I suppose. It's just that it had to, I'm assuming that the feeling was not very good when Team Sweden found out we're losing Joanne Courtney, our third, our killer sweeper.
Yeah, to go play with Homan,
to make an already strong team even stronger. It was like,
Anyways, let's move on. So from Team New Brunswick, we have Andrea Crawford, Sylvie Killian, Jillian Babin, Katie Forward. So Andrea Crawford has come out of New Brunswick many, many times. I guess she just loves New Brunswick and had to go back there. This also happened years ago when this all happened.
Yeah. And she's had some success, but never really as much as I felt she should have.
It's one of those provinces, kind of like Menard in Quebec. Like they're obviously a talented team, but they just don't have the exposure that the Western provinces have to, you know, competition and the funding and all that to like bring them to that next level.
That's right, because like she was a junior champion, and there was a lot of talk about her taking that into her adult career, and it never really materialized.
I think the fact that you stay in New Brunswick has a big part in that. No, not to shame, but like it's the same thing in Quebec or any other maritime province.
No, it's just funny because there we go on New Brunswick again. But it's not an insult; it's the truth. Unfortunately, there's no high performance curling resources really of any kind anywhere east of Ontario, and I think that has to change. But
yeah, even in Ontario, it's not the best. It's not like it is in Western Canada. But yes, that's a podcast for another time. So if we keep moving east, we have a Team Newfoundland and Labrador, skipped by Sarah Hill, Kelly Sharp, Beth Hamilton, Adrienne Mercer.
And that team was there last, or I don't know about the whole team, but Sarah Hill at least was skipping the Newfoundland team last year. They had a bit of a rough time, but they were a rookie team out of Newfoundland. I mean, they're probably in a little bit over their heads.
I don't think they will be making the championship round.
No, but the next team may.
Maybe Team Northern Ontario, Krista McCarville, Kendra Lilly, Ashley Sipala, and Sarah Potts. I feel like this is the only team that exists in Northern Ontario because we always see them.
I remember they opted out last year,
Yeah.
and they were replaced by Krista Burns, who is an up and coming team out of North Ontario. And we made the very good point is of that name a team out of North Ontario not skipped by somebody named Krista. But anyway, here they are. They did very well at the trials. They exceeded expectations, I would say. I mean, they're always like a tough team to beat. I don't think anybody had them making the top 3 at the trials.
This is a team that kind of like a lot of eastern provinces, they just don't travel much. One, because they're in Sudbury, and two, they also have, life commitments. So they don't travel as much, yet they always manage to perform really well,
I know.
really well at these championships.
And that's why I argue that, I know I've said this before, but Krista McCarville should be a Hall of Fame curler.
Mm-hmm.
Her, Jean-Michel Menard, is another example of somebody who I'm just wondering how good would they have been had they had the same resources that a team like Jennifer Jones or Homan has.
Yeah.
And it's a question I'll always wonder about, especially with Team McCarville, because the other vibe I get from watching them play is that I feel like every time she comes up to shoot, she has to bail her team out. I don't know if that's just me, like this is very anecdotal, but I feel like she is saving her team end in and end out. And I'm just thinking like she's a hell of a curler.
A name that we'll remember for a very long time, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
should be a Hall of Fame curler, even though she probably will never win a title.
Then we have Team Northwest Territories from the Yellowknife Curling Club. Same team as always. Joanne Rizzo, Sarah Colton, Margaret Fleming, and Carrie Galusha, who is skipped but throws lead.
Throwing lead. I was about to ask that. Yeah, that's they've listed that weirdly. So I guess she's throwing lead. Interesting. That's a change.
Then we move on to Team Nova Scotia, skipped by Christine Black, Jen Baxter, Carly Everest, Shelley Barker, and alternate Carol McKay.
And did you ever listen to the Vinyl Cafe? Very random aside here. With Stuart McLean, because apparently he's coaching the Nova Scotia team.
But is it? It's not the same Stuart McLean.
No, fortunately, Stuart McLean from Vinyl Cafe has since passed away.
Okay.
Yes, but I used to like that show too. But anyways,
personal story here is Sundays. We often, with my family, we'd go to brunch and stuff like that because it played on Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
And that's what was playing in the car is Vinyl Cafe.
Yeah. Poorly one morning and headed to the...
I didn't really like listening to it, but that was playing on the radio.
I know. I used to cringe at it, and then as I got older, I was like, this guy's actually pretty funny. I kind of liked it. Anyway, so no, it's a different Stuart McLean coaching the Nova Scotia team. And Christina Black's been there a few times with, I think, some members of that team. They were playing with Marianne Arsenault before she left for BC.
Then we have Team Nunavut from the Iqaluit Curling Club, Brigitte McPhail, Sadie Pinkson, Caitlin McDonald, and Allison Taylor. Probably will not be making the championship round.
No, it's pretty safe to say. But I will say a few of them have been there now several times now, so hopefully...
This is the thing with the North is due to the lack of population, it's most often the same team going every year.
Yeah, here we were saying there's a lack of resources in Atlantic Canada. Well, that's nothing compared to the North.
Then Team Ontario from Woodstock Curling Club. We have Holly Duncan, Megan Balston, Rachel Strybosch, Tess Bobby, and Julie Tippin. So they were the nominated team because Homan is going to the Olympics, so they got the spot.
Very happy that they did get in the end because we've talked about it a lot already, but that was a weird situation for them to have to be put through.
Exactly. Then Team Prince Edward Island from the Montague and Cornwall.
Montague, I believe.
Montague curling clubs. Old veteran Suzanne Burt, Mary Christensen, Megan Hughes, and Michelle Quaid. So this is a team that comes out of PEI almost every year.
And they do pretty... Yeah. I get really frustrated by this team, I have to be honest, because I feel like they're always ready to break through. They'll do something like they'll beat Jennifer Jones. And I'm like, oh, what? And then they'll beat Rachel Homan. And I'm like, oh my God, look at PEI go. And then they'll go and lose to, with respect here, Yukon or something like that. They get derailed, I guess. So very inconsistent. But
Well, this is also another similar to New Brunswick. Like, I feel if this team was in Alberta, they may have a little more success. It'd be a different team.
Absolutely. Suzanne Burt, then Suzanne Goody, was a very, very decorated junior curler. And when she came out of juniors, her team was so on fire. I have to go by like what people tell me here because this is a little bit before I vaguely remember this, but her team out of juniors was like the number one team in the world. And they made their first Tournament of Hearts, and I think they went 10-1, but they lost it in the playoffs. But they had a killer week, and then they've never been anywhere near as good.
And that's the thing; life gets in the way too. So
yeah.
So then we have the team from La Belle Province, Team Quebec, same one from last year. Laurie Saint-Georges, Haley Armstrong, Emily Riley, and Cynthia Saint-Georges with the alternate of Alana Rutledge. We'll see if they continue on their success they had last year.
Yeah, we'll get to the rankings in a bit, but they're seated very low.
Really?
Which it's all based on how much they've played, I think. So, but
it has to do with the points,
exactly.
points.
Yeah, they're seated almost next to last, but expect them to be better than that.
We have Team Saskatchewan from the Moose Jaw Ford Curling Center, skipped by Penny Barker, Christy Gamble, Jenna Engie, Danielle Sichinski. Alternate Amber Holland.
Yeah, Amber Holland is the alternate. Can't go wrong, right?
Or can you? I don't know. Saskatchewan has not had a lot of success in the Scotties for quite a while.
It's true. Well, the last person to win it from Saskatchewan was Amber Holland, so might as well have her in some form.
So moving on, we have Team Yukon from the White Horse Curling Club. Haley Burney, Patricia Wallingham, Carrie Campbell, Kimberly Tour, and alternate Stephanie Brown.
Can you pronounce the coach's name?
Oh, Bill Trehert.
Which I guess we can because we
know him.
We know Bill, but the first time I saw that name, I was like, oh boy, how do you pronounce that?
Oh, yeah, it has a lot of sh sounds.
And then the Wildcards.
Yes, so Wildcard 1 from the East St. Paul Curling Club, Manitoba, Tracy Fleury, Selena Negevin, Liz Fife, and Kristen McCush.
And Coach Sherry Madaw. Although we knew, she was at the trials, but I forgot everything from the trials. So
hopefully they can get a little redemption and maybe win this year?
Maybe.
I'd be happy to see them win.
I would, yeah. I really felt bad for them at the trials, so I hope they get their title.
Team Wildcard 2, Rob's favorite team from the Highland Curling Club in Regina.
Kelly's 2.
Chelsea Carey, Jolene Campbell, Stephanie Schmidt, Jennifer Armstrong, and Rachel Erickson as the alternate, with coach Colin Hobson.
Good for you, Colin.
Colin and Chelsea, they play mixed doubles together, actually.
Oh, that's true. Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah, they have a strong partnership, so I guess he brought him along. And then finally, Wildcard 3, although she is in the picture, but is not playing, Homan's team without Homan, so it will be skipped by Emma Miskew, third Sarah Wilkes, Ali Flaxey, and Joanne Courtney.
With Coach Marcel Rock, the Randy Furby coaching experiment was short-lived, unfortunately.
But Marcel Rock is part of the Randy Furby...
Yeah, close enough.
Well, they play on the same
Dynasty.
team.
Yeah, they did.
So it's the same thing. I treat it as the same. So this means that we now need to pick our top 3 and our winner.
Right. And while we do this, we should just quickly throw out there that that's 18 teams, so it's a lot. But the format, Kelly, is different this year than it was last year.
Okay.
Or they've tweaked it because last year they did the traditional 2 pools with the top 4 advancing to a championship pool where they kept going against each other. And then they did the team that finished first got a bye to the final in 2 versus 3. And I think the complaint was last year that with 18 teams, only 3 teams make the playoffs. So I guess it was deemed a little bit too exclusive. So they've brought back the page playoff this year, but they've had to change the format as a result.
Oh, to add in the extra game?
Yeah. So what's going to happen is there's 2 pools of 9. So each team will play 8 games. So 8 game round robin, but they're only going to take the top 3 out of each pool instead of the top 4.
Okay.
So only the top 3, whoever finishes first in each pool is going to get a bye.
Right.
And then 2 will play 3 from the opposite pool. Okay. Whoever loses those games are out.
Okay.
Like right away. Yeah. And whoever wins, well, that we'll get to a point where there's 4 teams left. The winner of the 2-3 game plus whoever finished first, those will be the 4 teams left, and they will go into a page eventually.
Okay, we can get into this next week once we
Yeah.
But okay, I think I follow you, but I need a visual representation.
I know. I only was able to explain it because I saw like a picture of it earlier this week. Because when I read the text, I was like, I don't know what the hell that means. So we'll get into whether we like it or not next week. But for now, it just means that only 3 teams are coming out of each pool. So I'll just quickly give you the pools, or I guess. So Pool A, I'll give them to you in the order of which they're ranked. So the number one, Pool A is Wildcard 1, Wildcard 2, Wildcard 3.
Okay.
They're all in the same pool. So that's Fleury, Carey, Homan. Then you've got Saskatchewan. Then North Ontario with McCarville, New Brunswick, Crawford, Prince Edward Island, Burt, Newfoundland, Hill, and Nunavut, McPhail. So that is your Pool A. That is the order in which they're ranked. Again, don't put too much stock into the way they're ranked because it's based on how much they've played. Like, for instance, I think McCarville should be maybe ranked higher. But anyway. And then Pool B, you've got Alberta, Walker, Canada, Einerson, Manitoba, Zacharias, Ontario, Duncan, Northwest, Galusha, Nova Scotia, Black, BC, Arsenault, Quebec, St. Georges, and Yukon, Bernie.
Okay.
So only 3 making it out of each.
So I'll give you my picks first.
Okay.
So we're doing top 3 here. Alberta's going to be one of them. Fleury's going to be another.
You've got your Pool A and Pool B representatives there.
Yep. And then the other one, I'm going to go... Oh, should I do them? I'm going to go with McCarville. And the winner, Alberta.
Alberta winning the whole thing. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm just going to go with that.
Okay, I am, first of all, just a quick glance here. I think that Pool A looks much stronger than Pool B, in my opinion, from what I'm seeing so far. Oh boy. Okay, I'm going to go with Fleury. I think she'll bounce back as being one of them. I'll go with Walker as well. Okay, and I'm going to do this one just to be interesting here. Let's call Rachel Homan Sans Rachel. What if we have the football equivalent of a quarterback controversy? What if they win without Rachel?
Ooh.
I'm going to say Team Homan just for that, just to see, stir the pot a little bit.
Okay, here's an interesting question then. If, let's say, Homan does win the Scotties, like the team, would Homan skip the World Championship?
I think she would. I believe that's what happened when Jennifer Jones won the Tournament of Hearts without Caitlin during the last Olympics. Like, Caitlin rejoined them for the Worlds, and I think they won those Worlds too. They did bring along Shannon Burchard to be the alternate, and I mean, it was not awkward. She knew she was a guest on that team. But it would just be interesting if the team that's been kind of shaky all of a sudden found their footing without their skip. This is how Tom Brady and every great quarterback got started. Like, there's an injury, got to come in, and like, oh, whoa, this backup guy's way better.
Yeah, let's stick with him. But I don't think that's going to happen here.
No, and I got to pick a winner for the whole thing, so I'll say Fleury.
Oh, I thought you picked Homan. Okay.
No, I'll pick Homan to get in there, but...
Okay, but Fleury to win.
But Fleury to win.
All right, well, we'll catch you in 2 weeks when we'll actually record the podcast where we reveal the winners and see if we picked right. And if, our track record says anything, both of these teams aren't going to make it.
No, but you know what? We are getting a little bit better. Okay, maybe not. I was starting to think that we were getting a bit better with that. Like, we called the John Morris, Rachel Homan thing early on.
Well, that was pretty obvious.
Well, I don't know. A lot of people I've been talking to don't agree with us. So I think...
Yeah, but I think it's more obvious than the picks we had here.
Maybe so, and I'm still going to take it and be like, hey, look at us. We finally got something, because football kind of changed that around this week. So
yeah,
don't count on us.
All right, well, the next football game is starting in not too long, so we better log off, and we'll catch you next week.
Take care.
Bye.